I am just waiting 1 minute or 30 seconds for Facebook Live to go at the same time. Once we've got that streaming going, I want to welcome everybody. You are in the shed and we are live with Rose. Hey, thanks for the highs and the smiles and the waves. I'm waving back and I am just looking for this to go live. I don't see it happening over here on Facebook. And thankfully, here we are up. We are up. Okay, awesome. And I'm looking for chatting as well. So I welcome questions. So let's start from the beginning. Hi, everyone. It's Rose McInerney here. We're live with Rose in the Shed. It is Wednesday afternoon, 7 Eastern Standard Time, 6 Central if you're in Chicago at the crossroads of America. I am so happy to be here. It's a little unusual. It's a little bit different. In the past couple of weeks, I think we are at Ep.5 today. And the past couple of weeks have been about having our really guests in the shed, people to talk to, looking to do a little bit of the entertaining, taking those stories off Womanscape.com and bringing them live into our lives. What is it about storytelling that really resonates for us? I know we've all been binging on a lot of TV shows. Maybe you're into the podcasts and the audiobooks. But it's really, really nice to have a face and to just see each other. So I'm doing a nice shout out. I've never done an Instagram live, so I'm kind of proud. I always have a little techie help, but I'm very proud. So what are we at? What are we up to tonight? Tonight I have a few things on the docket. One is just a quick link to the Womanscape story today because I think it fits in really beautifully with what the American dream is about. If you're Canadian or you're watching from any other place, you can just substitute American for that country, I think, because we're all looking for something. So I'm going to tell you just 2 minutes about a woman named Sonia Nazaro. And then I'm also going to talk to you a little bit about, well, what's that American dream? And from there, really, what are we doing? What's happening with COVID? I know that for me personally, in the last 2 weeks, and please send in some questions as well if this resonates with you. Last couple of weeks, friends of mine are kind of doing a bit of a dive. I feel the dive sometimes at night, going to sleep. You get that I don't know what it is, that anxious sort of feeling. Where you're definitely feeling like you're having a bit of a panic attack. I think it's super, super real. So I want to talk to that because I've got a really great doctor of happiness, and he's got some real solutions to how we're feeling and what we can do to ease some of the stress and the anxiety and, quite honestly, the fear. We all know, I think by now, that COVID's not going away anytime soon. Google's already announced that it's a year from now that they're even going to ask their employees to come back. So, all right, so let's rewind a little bit and start at the beginning with Sonia. I love this one, Sonia. She wrote a 6-part series for the LA Times, and it was about a young boy named Enrique. And Enrique lived in the Honduras with his mother. And his mother wanted to come to America and get a better paying job. They really struggled to put food on the table, so she managed to emigrate to America and get through the border. And so what happened, of course, she got through and she wasn't documented. And this series that Sonia wrote was about the quest for her to make enough money to send it home, but what actually happened to the family. Over the years that she promised to go home, she didn't make it home. And I think she was afraid. Because truly, with immigration the way it's been over the last few years, and America not really understanding that and appreciating that we need all of our workers, that, the world should be an open door. I think what happened, of course, with Enrique's mother was that she didn't make it home, and Enrique left the Honduras. The story was terrible for a while in trying to find his mother. When they eventually reconnected, the mother didn't want to come back. It didn't end well. So this story was really written by Sonia to look at, well, what's the American dream? Why do we do what we do? We go into careers sometimes because we're passionate and we want to be an artist. We want to be, we love cars. We want to be an auto mechanic. We want to be a social media person. We want to travel, whatever that is. Um, so many times, I think, though, money leads us in a direction and it doesn't always make us happy. Um, if you're unemployed right now because of COVID, if you are worried about losing your job and being downsized, if you are already struggling to make ends meet and you don't know how you're going to make your rent, all of these issues are going to weigh heavy on you, and you're not going to be happy. So yes, we need money, is what I'm saying. Um, we definitely need money to live, but at the end of the day, is the American dream something more? And I think it is. We're seeing that with the protests, right? We are wanting to have this place that's we're free, where we can be treated as equals, that life matters. We can build a better world for ourselves by just having the staple things. We want clean water. We want to be able to put food on the table, maybe have a couple of kids or not. All those things that go into what you've been raised to believe is happiness, and then finding it yourself. So that's a great segue into where are we now? Um, COVID, I heard the term COVID coaster. I love this term. It is a roller coaster, isn't it? I had a chance yesterday to talk to a doctor of happiness, and I'm going to send you to his Facebook page because he's doing his podcast that way. And for anyone that is feeling at all this kind of stress, or you know someone that's feeling stressed out, he's amazing. He's just so calm and so zen. I could not, hey there, Aunt, I could not recommend him anymore. So, but here's the thing, what's the COVID coaster? I think all of you are going to have different answers. For me, living at home here, I'm living in a house where I've got, and I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, I've got a daughter living with me and her husband and a couple of kids. We've got probably double the electricity bill. We are going through food a lot faster. We are in each other's way sometimes. We're fortunate enough to live in a house with enough room that you'd think it could never bother us, maybe. But I have to be honest, we're kind of treading on each other a little bit, and little things over a long period of time become big things that kind of can annoy you. So I'm looking at our fridge. I'm looking at, the coming and the going in the house, and kind of the little things that turn into fights or squabbles. And then you add on top of that, who's going out to get the food, and who's being exposed to someone else. Should you be going to a restaurant or not? We hear such conflicting reports. So there's this big fear thing happening, I think, and having to wear masks all the time. And even last night, I heard that there might be a recommendation for people that are living with more than your own family in a house should start to wear masks in the house. I don't know. I mean, everyone's going to feel differently about that one. But I can't imagine it's hard enough, I think, for us going out wearing masks, even though I personally believe that's the right thing to do, that we want to protect each other and social distance. We want this thing to go away. We want to get it out. I can't imagine having to wear a mask at home. I think I'd probably be locking myself in a room more times than not, because we all know how annoying that is to wear the mask. So this is, I'm getting at some of these issues really that I'm calling the COVID coaster, because one day, I don't know about you, but some days I feel okay and I forget that we're in the COVID world. And then there are other days that, I'm not able to sleep. I tell myself that the world, yeah, and I see this, I completely understand. I see some of the comments. It really, it can start to weigh heavy on you if you don't have coping skills. You don't know how to manage it. And let's be honest, knowing what to do, having the brain and knowing what to do is very different from actually doing it, because sometimes you just want to, honestly, you just want to tune out. I've watched more Law and Orders. I haven't seen all of them, but I've watched more Law and Orders than ever. Criminal Minds. I go back to kind of the comfort of some of those familiar series. And what I learned in talking to Dr. J was that there are four things that he says in his book. It's a book that he wrote in and released in 2020 of January, and it's called The Science of the Happy Brain. And in it, he talks about why it is that 1 in 15 people in the US suffer from depression. We're addicted to opioids. We are really struggling with the happiness factor. You know, where's the meaning in life? What makes us happy? So Dr. J said, and I was lucky enough to meet him in January at a great book launch at my friend Erica's gallery. He said it was 1 in 15. So in talking to him yesterday, that number has jumped to 1 in 25. So 1 in 25 is huge if you think about it. That means if you've got a family of 5, you know, one of you is suffering from depression, some serious depression. So this was a big question I had for Dr. J, who's got a background in neuroscience as well as experience with kind of world religions and some of the spirituality kind of meditation methods and things. So he's really a great person for melding the science of being happy. What is it that happens in our brain that makes us sad or makes us happy? As well as what of those things, whether it's praying or meditating in the spiritual realm, that help you to feel calm. So I think it's a perfect blend. So I'm going to give you this recipe. So the recipe is 4 things, all right? So Dr. J says the first thing is comfort, okay? We all want to be comfortable. Right now, if you've lost your job, if you are living in a house like I am with a lot of people, if you are stepping on each other's toes, maybe you're a parent and your kids have moved back home, or maybe you're, a student or a young adult and you've moved back in with your parents to save money. You're not happy either, or you are happy, because there are some gifts, and we could talk about that. But I'm looking at that roller coaster feeling of like, oh God, I've lost so much, so I'm not comfortable. I'm feeling very anxious because all the things I knew from my life before are gone. I love traveling. Anyone that knows me knows I love traveling. Staying at home at first felt really great. I got to tell you, I miss it. I miss going out to a restaurant. I miss seeing my friends face to face. I miss the live interaction. Yeah, okay. So the comfort thing. So Dr. J says we're feeling out of comfort. How do we handle this? The recipe for that, he says, is understand what you can control and understand what you cannot control. So we can't control whether all the numbers of COVID are going up and down. So if we stress over that, it's something that we're stressing over that we have no control over, right? So what can I control? I can control some of the things that were routines from before that will make me feel like I have control. So here are the things that he suggests, and I love this for the comfort part. He calls them MEDS, MEDS, okay? The first one is meditate. If you've not been prayerful or meditated before, consider doing that. Before I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, I was all about that Calm app. Get an app. There's free versions. Listen to something in the morning or before you go to bed at night to find some comfort, some kind of control. So the meditation is M. E is the exercise. If you were like me, I kind of put on those COVID-10. Yes, and someone's mentioning Headspace. I love Headspace too. I think I probably have about 4 apps on my phone, and I've taken to listening to audiobooks too. But something that makes you do some deep breathing and relaxing and brings you into a place of peace. And then the exercise part is really great. I know that when I was a young mom and I had kids, I wanted to do some kind of sport as a break, just to get a break. Hi, Debbie, just to get a little bit of a break. So I took up tennis so I could smash, and I'm not joking, like, so I could smash the ball across the court. And even when it went in the net, it didn't matter. It was the idea of getting an outlet. So I've actually taken to walking in the morning. Believe it or not, my husband walks with me. Sometimes I like that. I was listening to a lot of podcasts, and it was kind of like, Barry, I don't really want you walking with me. I'm like almost through the podcast. But the flip side was that walking is also a time for us when we don't always have this time together because he's usually traveling. So I'm finding our relationship, we've got time in the morning to talk and to walk. And so we've pumped it up. I try to get out 4 or 5 times a week and do 5K. So, oh, good. And we've got a link there too that one of my teammates is posting for Dr. J. So please see that link. So that's number 2 is the exercise. So meditation, exercise. The D is diet. I don't know about you, but I've struggled on that one too. No one's going to see me for a while, so maybe I'm going to have that extra popcorn. I'm going to have like a slice of cake. I don't know. I was taking in some of the things that aren't so good for you, doing it as I think as a way to escape. So Dr. J says, no, go back to healthy diet. I'm not saying don't make room for all your indulgences that you might like to have. But by having a regular diet, that means you're getting all the nutrients, obviously, that your body needs. And I think so many of you are already so good at this, especially our Generation Xers and our millennials. And maybe some of the moms that are listening too. My daughters have taught me so much about how to eat better. So, I think the diet thing, and then even if it's not the specifics of what you're eating, he says there's comfort in having a regular dinner time. So, you're waking up, you're getting some exercise, you're meditating, you're following a bit of a schedule to bring the controllable comforts in. So that's the diet part. And the last part is where I fail completely. And I don't know. I used to think it's because I'm like 50 something, but I don't think that's it. I think it's stress. And this is the S for sleep. Sleep has always been a challenge for me. I don't know. Do some of you feel the same way about that? Raise your hand if sleep is an issue for you. It is for me. And so how do you do this? I listened to someone today named Sherry Franklin, who's an expert in a number of things around meditative coaching. And she said that, believe it or not, 2 hours before you want to go to sleep, you should be starting your bedtime routine. So that means lowering the lights or dimming them, turning off your digital stuff, whether it's TV or your phone. I know that for getting a good sleep, some people even say you shouldn't even have your cell phone in the same room with you. Personally, I just can't detach enough. I don't know. I know it's the right thing, though. I know it's the right thing to do. So there you have it. Those are the meds: meditation, exercise, diet, and sleep. And those are things that are going to bring you comfort that you can control. There are 3 more C's. So the first one's comfort. The next one is contribution. So that doesn't mean, okay, I'm going to throw $500 or $100 or something over to all these different, a food bank here and doing something there. Yes, you can do that. And yes, please do that. But contribution means that you are going to give of yourself in some way. And so that might be as simple as you have a friend and they're struggling, or they lost a spouse within the last year and they might be lonely right now. They're living on their own. You send them a text in the morning. You make a point of staying connected to them now. So you do some kindness. You find some way to give back. It might be taking in a dog, a stray dog. It may be taking in or doing, dog sitting for somebody. It may be just offering to go and get food, something that makes someone else's life better. And Dr. J says the act of giving actually activates something in our brain that makes us feel good. And anyone that's ever given, and all of you out there have always given, I'm sure, in some way. Wow, I see somebody does actually start to wind down 2 hours in advance. Okay, so it really works. I'm going to try it this week. If you are actually giving or you've done that, you know how good it feels. So this idea of contribution is just doing something for someone else and reaping those benefits, and seeing where it goes. I've got a friend in Toronto whose daughter was laid off, and she started to collect sort of donations for at her local bakery that made these great pizzas. She collected donations from her immediate friends, ordered pizzas, and brought them to the hospital. This has grown into a business for her. So she's found a job by giving with no strings, and now she's got a livelihood. So it's, you never know what's going to happen, I guess, right? I love that pay it forward idea. It's wonderful. So that's the second C. Third C is connection. So connection can be tied to giving, obviously, but it's staying connected to people. Many of you know that I went to Baffin Island. I did a snowshoe trek in 2019 on April Fool's Day was when we left. So I'm still connected with those ladies, and every 2 weeks for an hour and a half on a Saturday morning, we have a cup of coffee and we just kind of catch up. It's really interesting if you set the intention and you make it happen and you stick to it. It's a really, really nice thing to make you feel like you're not alone. And that's what it is. And again, Dr. J, he's not married and doesn't have any kids. So for him, he's volunteered and given back by helping tutor two of his niece and nephew. It keeps him connected to them. And the family dynamics around that have been a really good thing for him. So he knows that somebody needs him. And that's the other thing, too. By feeling needed, there's just something wonderful in that. It gives you a reason to wake up in the morning and get out of bed. I know sometimes when it was the job before and you had to go to work and you just had to get up out of bed, regardless, that's a different feeling of being needed. But this is one, too, where you're creating something yourself. So I think there's something that really resonates for many of us. And then the last one is compassion. Compassion is something, I don't know how many of you listen to Brene Brown. I really like Brene. She talks about, there's a great podcast or a great TED Talk that she does on the difference between empathy and compassion. And that's a really good one. You may feel bad for someone, and there are things you can do within your own sphere of comfort zone in showing compassion and doing something good. So compassion doesn't necessarily mean setting up a time to talk regularly or anything else. It just may be listening. It might combine all of those things. It might be connecting, might be giving back, and it might be a routine that you establish, so there's a comfort in there. So you could probably hit all 4 C's at once. But compassion is the idea of just trying a little harder to listen to each other, to be kind, to empathize with what someone's going through. This is a tough one for me. I think I'm good at compassion in terms of feeling for other people, but I have a tendency to finish people's sentences. I have a tendency to, okay, hurry up, let me get to this, and okay, I'm really listening, and then almost not multitasking or whatever, but I'm not really fully present sometimes. I'm going to admit that I'm not. And you know what? COVID has really changed how I feel about that. And while I still struggle, it's helped me to kind of look inside a little bit deeper and think about how can I be truly present with someone and help them to feel better. I can't solve all the problems in the world, and you guys shouldn't feel like you have to. Yeah, it's something, though, I think we can all get good at, and if I'm sure all of you will agree too that this is the time for it. We have such huge racial divides. I'm going to, in the next few weeks, hopefully have on a guest who has been running a workshop on how to build discussion with people that completely disagree with you, that you don't see the world the same way. I think there's room for compassion in something like that. So I know as the elections draw near and when you turn on the TV, we are seeing so much combative, nature, like people, some of the worst is really coming out. So I make it a practice, and maybe this is going to identify with some of you out there. I make it a practice of not watching the news at night. This was, and I should probably give you Sherry Franklin, her website as well, because her story is amazing. But she says, turn your TV off, don't listen to it. And I think a lot of my friends and family are doing this right now anyway. You're not listening to the news like you used to. You can't take it anymore. And it doesn't give you a sense of control. So, yes, you need to still be informed and you need to know what's going on, but you can get that probably in a 10-minute sound bite in less. Tends to be the same thing anyway. It's just whether numbers are going up and down and what's happening with protesting. We do want to be part of all that, but I think you have to regulate what works for you and keeps you from feeling stressed. So I've talked a little bit about Dr. J's 4 C's and taking your meds every day, to meditate, to exercise, get the diet right, to sleep. And I've mentioned Sherry Franklin. Her name is spelled Sheree, and then Franklin is Franklin. If you check out her website, she has some interesting tools on there, and I love this woman. I think she's an inspiring way for me to kind of wrap this up too. And I hope she doesn't mind me talking about her this way. So she does these meditative workshops, and she's a super successful woman who started as one of the first Black journalists at a radio station in Philly. I think she went to Philly outside of Chicago and then moved back home, started a business, had a child, started a business, and did really well in marketing. And then left that business to get into coaching. She had a dream. So maybe this will get back to the American dream. This is a good way to segue this. So she had a dream about Oprah. So Sherry dreamt one night that Oprah was with her and gave her 3 golden coins. True story. And so Sherry was trying to decide whether or not to start her business, and the dream told her, kind of just gave her this feeling like, Oprah's telling me I'm going to make some money, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to go into business. And she really didn't have a business plan or anything, and went into business and did super well. 20 years after having that dream in 1989 and going into business, she was driving along the lakeshore. Lived in Chicago for 7 years. She's driving along that lakeshore. It's beautiful. It's so scenic. She hears an ad on the radio to become one of Oprah's top fans. Okay. So she hears it and she says, that's me. That's me. And the ad says, if you're chosen, you're going to get to fly to Australia. Sure enough, she says, I know that's me. She goes home. She does the entry. She gets a call from the producers. Fast forward. She gets to go with a select number. I think there were 200 or 300 people out of 100,000 people. And then she was one of 12 that got to do a special shuttle flight in Australia to go and meet with an Aboriginal tribe and a shaman. So it changed Sherry's life. And what was really interesting about that story is how she's like that 1 in a million person, and who wouldn't want to go and be with Oprah. What I really love is that she dreamt something, she believed in herself, and she just did it. And then she had the fortitude to always keep dreaming and reinventing and doing new things. So I think it's the perfect kind of, you can do it, everyone kind of thing, that we build the life we want to live. We're all proof. We all know that that's the case. I struggle with all kinds of things. Relationships can be broken. We can have trouble with, finances. We can not know what it is we're meant to be doing in this world. I'm still trying to figure that out. But at the end of the day, if we set resolutions, yeah, good, thank you. I'm glad you like this story. If we set resolutions and find just little goals day by day, then I think we can build what we want. And then if you've got a supportive network of people, man, it doesn't get any better than that. I don't know. I'm looking out there in the Uber field or the digital field here of space to see. Does anyone have any questions at all? I'm trying to get good at this answering and responding to questions. If you do, please know that you can shoot me a question anytime. Um, we don't have as many people joining tonight on Facebook. I was going to announce that we've been working on a podcast. Some of you already know. We've already started taping for the show. And if you like that story about Sherry, wait. Yes, you are going to hear from him, Dr. J. So let me circle around with that. If you like that story of Sherry, and you like the story of Dr. J, because I can tell you about what triggered his pursuit of finding the happy brain when he was 19 and he didn't even know it. Um, we are going to bring you one kind of story like that time after time after time. These are people that have had harrowing experiences, or they've had pivotal moments in life that have been kind of a shit show. They haven't been great. And they've been able to take that experience and flip it around and be better. That's what gives me hope. Sherry's story and the American Dream gives me hope. Every single story that you're going to hear on our podcast, I'm going to save the name, you are definitely going to be hopeful. You're going to be hopeful and you're going to feel better about your own life because that's what stories do. So we've got a link to Dr. J's Facebook page. So it's Dr. J and Kumar is Kumar. And then I gave you Sherry Franklin's. I'm going to put a shameless plug in for Womanscape.com if you want to read a little bit more about Sonia Nazzaro's story that she wrote about Enrique's journey. I could probably add in there that she's a Pulitzer Prize winning author for that, as well as just an incredible writer that continues to advocate for the more than 1 million kids that are, without their undocumented kids here in America. So there's tons of stories out there. You are going to hear from Dr. J and I. That's going to be the first kickoff podcast. Our big launch day, all right, I'm spilling it. Our big launch day is September 3rd. It's called Sipping on Stories. When I talk to you, even anytime during the day, like me, I'm sure you're all sipping on whatever you're sipping on. This is like crazy expensive stuff, but it's delicious because it's got it's Mexican lime and African ginger. Now, I don't know if that's really true. I can't imagine them flying all those ingredients from there into this little can, but it is a CBD drink. And so I don't know, it's really yummy. So when we do these stories, like Dr. J and I sip on a special kind of tea. When you hear from Sherry, you're going to hear what she likes to drink. And I really want to invite all of you to just have this kind of continued dialogue that we're having on Facebook Live. And that's to sip on your own story and to find ways and just talk to each other and support each other and make it a good life. I love chatting with you all. I'm sure you're getting tired of hearing from me. If you have any questions, now's the time before I hit goodbye. But I want to thank you again. I want to tell you to tune in to womanscape.com and take a look. If you haven't liked us, please like our social feeds. Other than that, be good to yourself, love yourself. You are loved, whether you always realize it or not, and you are capable of great things. I'll come on and do another personal one like this without someone else in the shed. Maybe I'll share some pictures. We'll talk about my Kilimanjaro if you like, or we can talk about the Arctic or something fun. And if you know any good stories out there, please share with me. And I would love to have any of you on the Facebook Live or on the podcast. All right, I'm sending you hugs. Be great, everyone. I really enjoyed this. Take care. Have a great night. And we will see you again next Wednesday in the shed with Rose. Bye for now. Okay, we're good.
Very good.
Was it fun?